This car it's a four-door Wrangler, and I turned it into a camper, and it kind of stemmed from this idea I had where I was down here in Utah freezing with some friends of mine camping. It was like -15, there was a foot of snow, and I was like, man, if I could just have a warm heated box on a Jeep, it would be really comfortable. It's kind of unique because it has this ability to off-road just like a Jeep. It's really not any heavier. It's actually lighter than if you were to put a rooftop tent and all that stuff on. And it's a lot more comfortable. It started out as a 2016 Wrangler, 5.7 Hemi. It's got Dynatrac Dana 60 rear axle, Dynatrac Dana 44 front, 48 gears, lockers. Transfer case is just a stock Rubicon. It's got 22 gallons of fresh water on board, 2 stoves, 1 sink, 2 batteries. It's got a National Luna split battery charging system, National Luna fridge freezer. Power number on the motor I think is 375 horse, 390 torque. Basically I wanted it to be really simple, and I wanted it to have a place. I hang out in the rainforest a lot, temperate rainforest up in Idaho, so I wanted a place to hang out inside. And a lot of these little campers are great if you're just outside, but they're not so good if you're inside for all day or waiting a storm out. And so that was kind of the goal with this one, is how could I make it so that it felt comfortable enough to just hang out in for a while and read a book. It drives pretty much just like a standard Wrangler. It's kind of funny, you forget until you turn around that it's any different than a regular Wrangler. And that goes for even off-road, where there's a little bit more overhang, but I'm so used to driving the Brute around, and we built it to drag, so it's not a big deal out here. I mean, you hit occasionally, but it's all made for it, so it's never a concern. This is definitely one of my favorite rigs I've built, and I look at this thing and I see a lot of flaws. I'm probably too hard on myself, but for me, it's not only that it looks good, but that it functions really well. And when we look at functionality, it's not necessarily like here in the desert, it's all over the world. So we have customers all over the world, and we have to do left-hand drive, right-hand drive, gas, diesel, and we test from -50 degrees to 150 degrees. So I designed everything in the computer. It took me about 7 100-hour weeks in a row to design everything and get it all ready to be made. And what that enables me to do is build it really fast. And I used a router to cut out all the honeycomb panels, and I had alignment tabs on everything. So it only took us 3 weeks to assemble this thing and paint it and have it at the show. And it's never, something like this is never really done. So it's still not done, but we're working on it every now and then when we get a chance. It's kind of convenient actually driving it around town, especially in the winter. It's got gasoline-powered heater, and I just leave the heat on. So it's nice in the winter in Montana. I just literally leave the heat on. I'll go into a restaurant or a grocery store or whatever. I come back out, it's just 70 degrees all winter. And it takes so little fuel, it doesn't even bother me to leave it on. Or I'll leave my dog in the back. She loves it. It's interesting driving this vehicle around. I guess one of the best parts is just everybody who comes up to you and wants to talk about it. And I drive a lot of unique vehicles, so I'm used to that, but this one in particular, it seems to be more approachable. People come up and they instantly have this thought of this is going to be a really fun time. This vehicle promotes fun times, and so everybody's in a good mood when they come up and talk to you about this thing. And it's so different than anything else out there. Even people who are Jeep people or whatever, I mean, there's really no ego, and people just come up and they're really friendly. So I think the best part about driving this thing around is just meeting the different people who are interested in something like this. It's such a unique niche. There's really nothing out there like it in the States. And so I think a lot of people in the States haven't seen anything like this. So it's a unique experience for a lot of them. My first car was a terrible 1981 Mercury Capri. It was horrendous. But my second car, my dad let me use his Jeep Wrangler, and that's kind of what got me into this. And I always liked the Defenders. Could never afford a Defender, but the Jeep Wrangler was great, except for it was too short, and it kind of had some problems. So that's kind of how this whole thing started. I originally started this business out of a business plan competition. in college, so in order to graduate, we had to write a business plan. At the time, I had a Wrangler, and I had modified it, I had stretched it, and they asked you to come up with a business, so I decided I'd come up with this, I'd do this commercially. And so that's how I originally started. I got a loan for $35,000 off my business plan from a bank, and started it, and the rest has kind of been history. I've always liked, I guess, kind of transportation things, airplanes, boats, cars, motorcycles. I kind of have a habit of acquiring those things. You know, cars is just one of those things that's always been a passion of mine, and especially the combination of function and design I've always loved about automobiles. Yeah, for me, the payoff with this one is really, I'm always out there playing with different things and doing different stuff that a lot of times eventually does end up into the business. And I'm fortunate to have a good group of guys who are normally willing to listen to my crazy ideas and make stuff happen. And it's funny, you know, you come out here to Moab and you see a lot of stuff that, you know, I came up with years and years ago, and now it's kind of industry norm. You know, it's a good feeling too when you see like, hey, I changed this whole industry in a way, like in this little bit, you know, here and there. And a lot of them just come from these little oddball ideas I get.